Alright, what's up YouTube? So today I'm going to be making a tier list video over the new legendaries from the Festival of Legends. To give you a breakdown of what the tier list, or the different ranks of the tier list means. S tier means it's going to be very consistent. You can see it in most decks for each class, or if it's a neutral legendary, it's going to be seen in almost every other deck. That whole type of thing. A tier is very consistent, will be seen in most decks, but not every deck. B tier is consistent, but not necessary. C tier is very niche, and then F tier is not like disenchanted. It's not good. Don't need to craft it. That type of rank. So let's get into it. So the first one up is Rockmaster Voon. Battlecry copy of minion of each minion type in your hand, and so it just adds a copy of each minion type in your hand. This is F tier. This is by far the worst legendary that Warrior's ever gotten. Like, if you were to come here and let's go to Warrior, let's get a better picture of it. Like, this card's not very consistent at all. For one, you're gonna have to have those cards in your hand for it to do it. Like, it would be a lot better if if it copied or add a copy of every single minion type you played to your hand, so it's like a reload card. This is how I would design this card. As a 4-mana 4/3. This probably won't be seen in any of the decks that do want to have value out of this, like with the Roaring Applause or anything like that as well. So yeah, F tier. You definitely want to enchant it if you get it from their packs, okay, but it's not worth enchanting. Now the next card, Black Rock and Roll, I think it's not absolutely terrible, but it's slightly better than Rockmaster Voon. 5 mana, give all minions in your deck attack and health equal to their cost. Now, a big warrior deck might come around, and this might be consistent. If there's only a way to tutor out fire spells in warrior, this would be, I feel like, would be a little bit more consistent. But this card is very niche, so it definitely deserves C tier. Next one is MC Blingatron. Now, I feel like Blingatron is also C tier as well, purely because it's not. If the weapon did more damage instead of just 1 more damage, if it did like 2 or 3 more damage for each damage they take by, it'd be really good. But I can also see this card being semi-decent like a Garrote deck, if you're able to play it and then play a bunch of Garrotes. They'll deal 3 damage instead of 2. And since the rework to Garrote, they add another Garrote to your to their deck when you play the Garrote card or the Garrote spell. So MC Blingatron could seem play in that type of deck too, but it's not going to be seen in every single rogue deck. And it's definitely not very consistent in that way either. Now the next card, I think, next rogue legendary, Bounce Around featuring Gonora. I definitely think this is a B tier card, just because it returns all friendly minions to your hand. They cost 1 this turn. Now this card's going to be really good because it costs 3. You can prep it out, cost 1, and then on top of that, the other Shadow Demise, that spell that copies the spell. If you're able to copy that with this too, this card could get really nutty with all the different valuable cards, really strong value cards that Rogue has. So I definitely think this is a B tier. Now up next is Cagehead. Cagehead is very hard to pick which tier it belongs into. I feel like Cagehead could be very interesting in the way that it could be a kind of a new way to OTK with double Unholy Death Knight. Death Rattle, summon a 9/9 Blight Boar with charge and taunt. So here's the Blight Boar right here. Now the only reason why I think this might be a little bit it could be considered B tier, I don't think it's A tier because it needs a lot of help to make it work, such as Death Growl, choose a minion, spread its Death Rattle to adjacent minions, and then the Bone Shatter, spend 5 corpse to trigger and gain the Death Rattle of a friendly or of a random friendly minion that died this game. So this thing needs a lot of support to get it to happen. Now Unholy isn't really known for being very control oriented either, and so I feel like this would be it could work if it's set up correctly. I feel like not on day 1, but after a couple of weeks, there would be a refined list of Cagehead that would make it possibly an A tier, or maybe it'll go down to a C tier. But I think right now it's probably the middle of B tier. I feel like Bounce Around is a lot better than than Cagehead. The next spell, or the next legendary for Death Knight, is the Climatic Necrotic Explosion. 10 mana, rainbow. It has 1 blood, frost, and unholy. Lifesteal, deal 5 damage, summon 2 1/1 souls, randomly improved by corpse you spend. So this card's very hard. It's definitely a C tier. It's niche. I don't think it's down here with Master Vone yet, but this card can work. It's improved by a corpse you spent. So if you play, the Rainbow Death Knight and you just try your best to spend as many corpses as you can and just stay alive, and then you just end the game with with 2 like 20 souls, then it might work. I don't know how consistent that's going to be, so that's why it's going into the niche tier. Yeah, so I definitely belong to the C tier. I definitely think MC Blingatron is a little bit better than these two, specifically in this order too. Next, let's see, is Demon Hunter. Let's see. So the next one, Havera Dark Raven. Rush, or it's 4 mana, 4/3, rush. After a friendly rush minion attacks, give your minions +1 attack. Now, this can be good. It really limits it because it has to be rush minions, and there's not a lot of rush minions except for the ones that they just added in, and then of course like some of the core or just the neutral rush minions. So Demon Hunter being limited to only rush minions makes this card a little bit worse in my opinion. It's very niche. It's definitely a C tier card. I feel like they made it like charge, and after a friendly minion, or if they made it like what I talked about in another video, where to make it to where your outcast, if you play outcast one, it gets charged and it gets a +1 every time it charges in, and this one also has charge. I feel like this would be a better way to design the card and would make it a little bit more aggressive. But with this, I think this is very niche. You could probably throw it into a deck and then you might get some rush stuff off of it, and it might work sometimes. Or you just play it as a 4 mana 4/3 with rush, and then if you happen to have like a 3-cost rush or a 2-cost one you had turns prior, it would be alright to play as a follow-up. But I don't think this will be seen in every single Demon Hunter deck, and I don't think it'll be very consistent either. Now the next one, going down swinging. I feel like this one is a lot better than the other Demon Hunter spell. 5 mana, give your hero +2 attack and immune this turn, then attack each enemy minion. This could be good in like a control relic Demon Hunter deck, I think, because giving it +2, you could also equip it with any type of weapon that has lifesteal, if it still has that in the, because I believe it's a core, it's part of its class, it's like core set or whatever, so you could potentially restore 4 HP and deal 4 damage to everything, so it's like a 4 mana, gain 4, multiple times. So if they have 7 stuff on the board, that deals 32 damage and that restores you for 32 health. So I definitely think this is a very strong card. Definitely a B tier one. Okay, up next is Mage. Now for Mage, I think it's going to be pretty interesting with Mage. DJ Mana Storm, 10 mana, 8/8, Battlecry, set the cost of spells in your hand to 0. After you cast one, the other ones cost 1 more. Now this is a pretty interesting spell, or minion for Mage to get. It's probably not the best, legendary that they've gotten. Only being able to, play this on turn 10 and then only being able to cast 1 card off of it, and then you have to wait the next turn to follow up to play another 1 cost and then a 2 cost and then a 3 cost, depending on, however many spells you have in your hand. You have to really, for this to work, it sets the cost of spells in your hand. It's not in your deck either. So you already have to have spells in your hand that you haven't spent already, which, I mean, in Mage it's not very hard to do because you have a lot of Discover and a lot of ways to generate spells, but, the spells that you're reducing, we're going to want them to be very, good quality spells that are going to do something to, progress the game state for you. I feel like DJ Manstorm isn't going to do that. I feel like there's going to be other decks that are going to, other Mage decks that are just going to be better and are not going to want to play this at all. But I feel like just because you could get 1 card down to 0, that could be you could have, play this on turn 10 and then it could reduce the cost of all your spells to 0, and you can play that 1 Pyroblast. So it's a 0 mana 10 damage to face. It could be that. But I definitely don't think this is a niche card. This could be put into a Mage deck and it would still feel, I think, mildly decent. So it's probably going to be low B tier. Now the other Mage spell, Infantitize the Maxitude. 2 mana discovery spell, Finale, return this to your hand at the end of your turn. Now Finale is a bonus if this spends all your remaining mana at the end of the turn, it adds it back. Now I think this is kind of a waste of a spell, especially as a legendary for Mage, because basically every other spell that Mage has discovers another spell. The only thing is it adds it back to your hand. it's not worth playing at all. It's not worth crafting. It's not worth any of that stuff either. And on top of that, this card can be discovered by other spells too in the mage class, and so you don't need to run this in your deck at all. This is definitely F tier, but it's better than Master Boon for sure. But this is definitely, like, this card is not necessary at all in mage, because you have other spells that discover other spells. Those spells could also discover this one. It's just not worth running the deck. It's gonna, if you're playing a Renathal deck, this is gonna want to be taking another spot. If you're playing a 3rd card deck, another card's gonna want this spot. Okay, next is Shaman. Now, Shaman is cool. I like that they're bringing back the Overload stuff, but Inza is just too expensive. 5 mana, 5/5, battle cry for the rest of the game. Your Overload cards cost 1 less. If this costed like 3, if it was a 3 mana 3/3, I feel like that'd be a little bit more consistent. But because it costs 5 and it doesn't have like any special tags to tutor it out, it's just a neutral minion, except for it's a neutral Shaman card. It's not going to do a whole lot. It's very niche. It's very situational. If you do get it off, your Overload cards are going to cost 1 less, but they didn't introduce any insane Overload spells either, and so even minions for that matter. So it just feels kind of like just meh, very niche. I don't think it's F tier, because when it works, it's going to work for you. The next one is Jive Insect. 5 mana, transform a minion into Ragnaros the Firelord, Overload 2. Now, if you don't know what Ragnaros the Firelord is, it's a 8 mana 8/8 that can attack, but it'll deal 8 damage to a random enemy. Now, this is costing 5. If you draw this on turn 5, you transform a 1/1 into a Firelord on turn 5, it's going to feel pretty good. The nice thing is it does have a tag, so it does have the fire tag, and there aren't a lot of fire spells within Shaman, so you could play the spell, the scroll spell that will allow you to discover another fire spell, and since there's not very many fire spells, you get multiple of these, and then you can just have multiple Rag the Firelords. And so I think this could be, seen in some type of mid-range to control Shaman deck that will just mainly just try and survive the best to its capability, and then you just try and play as many Jive Insects as you can, and hopefully that'll be enough to just overwhelm your opponent. I feel like this is pretty decent. I feel like this card could definitely be played in every single Shaman deck, and it'd still feel good. If you top deck on turn 5 and you transform it, it's going to be good. B tier. Okay, next is Druid. I really like everything for Druid. So the first one, Rhythm and Roots. 4 mana spell, choose one secretly, summon 3 5/5 agents in 2 turns, or 8/8 giants in 4 turns. So this will summon up 3 8/8 giants in 4 turns. I think this is it's alright. I think running this card in the deck is not necessary, but if you discover it, because it is a nature spell, and so if Druid has other cards that are able to discover other Druid spells, I think this would be good to get off of a discover effect, but not running it and it taking up a spot in your deck. It would be pretty cool to get 3 8/8 giants. That could be like kind of like a secret finisher in a way, or just summon 3 5/5s in 2 turns. That could be good. But if you play this on turn 4, and then by turn 7 you're getting 3 5/5s, your opponent could already be just have a better developed board. These don't have taunt. They don't have like any other type of keyword. They're just plain vanilla minions with just a stat line. They're not very effective, and for this costing 4 and you're only running one of this, it's not very consistent at all. This is probably a niche card. Like I said, you're not going to run it in every deck, but if you discover it, I think it'd be very solid. Now the next one, which I'm most excited about, is Zoc Fogsnout. 7 mana 6/6 battlecry, summon 2 1/1 Quillboars with taunt. And so this is what the guy looks like. This is going to be pretty good. I feel like this card's going to be very consistent with all the other card and support it gets. Free Spirit, Battlecry, and Death Rattle, your hero gains one more armor this game. And then the other one, Groovy Cat, Battlecry, and Death Rattle, your hero gives your hero 1 more attack this game. And then on top of that, you have Peaceful Piper, choose 1, draw a beast, or discover 1. So if you're playing all 3 of these cards as well with Zoc Fogsnout, it's going to be extremely consistent. And on top of that, if you don't decide to draw a beast, if you already played them, you can discover another one, and you'll have an even higher chance of hitting Free Spirit as well as Groovy Cat as well. And it's just, Fogsnout's going to be one of the best Druid Druid minions that they have gotten in a while. This is definitely A tier. I don't think it's S tier, but after a couple weeks of the meta changing and going through, this card might go up to S tier with how consistent it might be. With it being 7 mana, if you're able to get open this on turn 1, this on turn 2, this on turn 3, and get another one of those and play that as well. And it's also, it draws it immediately too. So choose one, draw a beast, or discover one. So you're automatically gonna get in hand. And so these together, like these 3 cards, are gonna make this card so strong that you could almost guarantee to get your hero power up to 6 or 5 or 6. You're gaining 5 armor and 5 attack, 6 armor, 6 attack for 2 mana. And then that's either hitting a minion, that's trading. You're gonna have really good trades. Everything's gonna feel really great. And this card's just gonna be pretty consistent overall, I think. Now up next is Paladin. Paladin's going to be pretty cool as well. Starlight Groove is basically the replacement for Cariel because Cariel is rotating out. 3 mana, give your hero Divine Shield for the rest of the game. Playing a Holy Spell refreshes it. This is for sure an S tier card, just based off of there being so many good Holy Spells in Paladin that it's just this is gonna be in almost every single deck. You can see it in the big Paladin deck, you can see it in the Dragon Paladin deck, you can see it in the Silver Hand Paladin deck, you can see it just in any deck, and it's going to be there all the time. And it's going to really change the way that you are playing against Paladin as well, because you're going to have to think about what minion's going to hit the face first. You can't just charge in with the 10 attack guy. The Divine Shield's going to absorb it up, so your opponent's going to have to think harder when it comes to removing your Divine Shield on top of all the minions on your board as well. Very good card. Now the next one up is Kangor, the Dancing King. I definitely think it's a upper B tier. I don't think it's A tier, mainly because of the cost. The 5 mana 3/3 lifesteal. Death Rattle, swap this with a minion from your hand and give it lifesteal. The reason why this card is really good is because it gives that minion you summon lifesteal, and so on top of the let's see, what is it? The Starlight Groove. You're virtually never going to really take any damage because your big minions that you're going to be summoning off of it are going to be getting lifesteal, and you just play those really good valued big minions that have really good effects or good death rattles, and you're just going to continuously stay alive, and it's going to be a good card. I don't think it's meta defining yet. I don't think it's A tier, but I definitely think it is upper B tier, at least right away. There might be a refined deck that will bump it up to A, or it might kind of go down to the middle of B tier, but as of right now, what I think is going to be a high B tier legendary for Paladin. Now, next is Priest. Now, I think Priest is going to be pretty decent too, just with all the overheal support. I think Heartbreaker Hinatus is going to be really good. 4 mana, 4/8. With the Battle Cry, deal 4 damage to this minion. Overheal, deal 5 damage to a random enemy. Now, this is a really key thing here, a random enemy. It's not minion, so it can hit face as well. And with all the other cards that Mage is getting back, with the new cards that they got, with the overheal effects, with the Fan Club, everything with it, it's going to be very easy to overheal everything. And then Heartthrob summons a random minion with cost equal to the amount overhealed. It's very possible to get another Heartbreaker Hinatus off of it. It's very possible to get the Geode or the Holy Champion. It's gonna be a very strong, really strong card. This is definitely, I think it's a little bit better than Kangor, but it might be just middle of B tier. Maybe around here. Anywhere between here or here, I think. I think it's going to be very good. It being 4 mana makes it really strong. If this was a 5 or 6 cost minion, this would not be good, I don't think. The next one is Love Everlasting. Now, this is probably the worst pre-spell we've gotten. Your first spell each turn costs 2 less. Lasts until you don't play a spell on your turn. Now, those turns where you run out of spells or you aren't able to generate spells, this just goes away. It's not like a everlasting effect where you play it, your spells cost 2 less for the rest of the game. It's just you always have to play a spell, and it has to be your first spell each turn costs 2 less. So it's all right. It also costs 3, so it's not like you're getting immediate. It's like it doesn't cost 1, so you can't get immediate effects off of it right away. I think you might see this in some type of like value priest that revolves around OTKing an opponent, but I think this is a very niche card. I don't think you can see it in every single priest deck, and I think the new type of decks you're going to see is like the undead priest with overheal, or because let's see, Yeah, no, you might not see it with that then, but the Heartthrob is undead. I don't know. There might be some type of there might be some type of undead overheal deck that might come around. You never know. But if this had if there's like some way to get this to be played inside of a Shadow Priest deck, I feel like that would make that deck even more aggressive, especially with it costing 4. But I feel like Undead, or the Undead Shadow Priest and the Overheal Priest are going to kind of outclass whatever deck would use the Love Everlasting card. Up next, let's see, Hunter. I'm really excited for Hunter. I think Mr. Mokla is going to be extremely good. 6 mana, 10/10, rush, battlecry, fill your opponent's hands with bananas. This card is going to be insane because of Jungle Jammer. 4 mana, 4/2, death rattle, summon a random 1-cost beast, cast spells while equipped to improve. If you cast 5 spells and get this to make it to where it costs 6 and you destroy it, it's going to have like a 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 chance of summoning up a 6-cost because of all the 6-cost beasts. There's Mukla, there's Krakatoa, there's a Druid 6-cost 6/6 beast, and then there's the Hindmane. Those are, so yeah, it's going to have a 1 in 4 chance of summoning Mukla, which means that playing Jungle Jammer as well as Mukla in a big Beast Hunter deck is going to make it even more consistent, and you're going to be getting 10/10s off of it, as well as with Stranglehorn to resurrect it. It's also tradable, and so you're going to be able to trade it back in and wait until you need it. So I definitely feel like these are definitely A tier cards. If anything, this could be upper B and not A, just because purely. Actually, no. This is definitely S tier. Mr. Mokla is S tier, and this is upper B tier because this can be bad. I think. Well, no, it's A tier. This is A tier because it has the tradable. If this thing didn't have tradable, this thing would probably be middle B tier. But since it has tradable, you could get it when you need it to. It resurrects all stuff that costs 5 or more. So it's going to be resurrecting multiple Mr. Muklas for you. You could also do the Bangosaur whenever this attack draws a beast and gains stats. It's going to be really good, very consistent. It's going to have all the other good beasts as well. Beast Hunter is going to be a very dominant deck in this meta. I'm sure of it. Now next is Demon, or Warlock, I mean. So the first one is Rin, Orchestrator of Doom. 5 mana, 3 attack, 6 HP. Taunt, Death Rattle, both players draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards, and destroy the top 2 cards of the deck. Now you could probably see this card in some type of like Control Warlock deck. The only downside is it, discarding and destroying 2 cards that you want. This is going to feel pretty good against your opponent because, they're going to be losing 6 stuff worth of stuff, right? You draw 2 cards, you're going to discard 2 cards. Or, well, 4 cards of stuff, right? The only downside of this is it's a Death Rattle, not a Battle Cry. If it was a Battle Cry, this would be a lot more impactful. It just has the risk of being silenced now, and there's a couple of things that could silence it, and Druid and Priest and stuff like that too. And Mage is able to discover stuff that could potentially silence it as well. So that's like the only niche to the card, I think. I definitely think Rin is going to be, middling B tier. I definitely think this will probably be right around here. It might be better than Kangor actually because it could be seen in almost every single Warlock deck. It's not A tier because you're going to be losing some resources as well that's going to be necessary for your game plan, but it's definitely high B tier and it's going to be pretty good when it happens right and if it hits the correct stuff that you want it to. The next one is Symphony of Sins. Mouse is going dry. 6 mana, discover and play a movement. Shuffle the other 6 into your deck. So the first one is Movement of Envy. Remove the top 6 cards of your opponent's deck. That's insane. Removing 6 cards from your opponent's deck it can remove all 6 cards that they need to beat you. Like that's just really good. 3 mana, draw your highest cost minion and reduce it by 6. This card's gonna be really good. Like, in another video that I posted talking about some of the day 1 decks you could see. The Control Warlock deck with Mal'Ganis and the Jailer, reducing the cost of either of those and playing it with the Jailer or Mal'Ganis will just instantly guarantee you the game. And then Wrath, Movement of Wrath, deal 6 damage to all characters. Movement of Desire's Lifesteal, deal 6 damage to the enemy hero and restore 6. Movement of Gluttony, 3 mana, give a random minion in your hand, deck, and battlefield +6/+6. If that hits your Jailer, your Mal'Ganis, something on your board, it's automatically going to be impacting you. It's going to be so strong. Minimum agree, draw 6 cards. I feel like this is the last one people are going to pick because Warlock already has so much drawing in the deck. It's pretty mediocre. Movement of Sloth. 3 mana, summon a 6/6 demon with Taunt and Reborn. It has Taunt, which is really good, and it costing 3 to get it out early. It also has Demon as its minion type, so you can buff it up. You can do other stuff to it. This card is definitely going to be very, very good. Definitely S tier, I think, because you're going to be able to see this. This can be played in almost every single Warlock deck, and it's going to feel good. Especially, the only downside is you discover and play 3, or not 3, but like you discover from 3. So since there's so many of them, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, there's 6 of them. So in a certain situation, you might not get the one you want, but there's another one you could think a little bit ahead in the game to where what you might want to do, like reduce it or deal 6 to all characters, you know. But this card is definitely S tier for Warlock. This can be seen in every single deck, and it's going to feel good when you play it. There might be some situations where you don't get the one you want, but I feel like all these are really high valued, and so you're going to feel good either way. Okay, now for the neutral legendaries. Let's see. Let's go to the first one. Okay, Photographer Fizzle. 3 mana, 3/3 battle card. Take a snapshot of your current hand and shuffle it into your deck. Now the snapshot is one single card, it costs 2, and it adds a snapshot of the cards that you snapshot back to your hand. This feels extremely good. It costs 3 mana. If this costed anything more than it, I feel like this would be a very, very niche card. But this could be seen in combo decks. It could be seen in decks that just want extreme values. Like, this is overall just a very strong card. I talked about it in a mage deck with the what's it called, Showstopper or Light Show, whatever that card is, that deals 2 damage twice, and then for each one you casted, it casts itself again. I feel like this card is going to be seen in that deck a lot, and it's going to be just very, very strong. You can see it in any type of combo deck, any type of OTK. This card is going to be very solid. I don't think it's going to be A tier, but it's definitely going to be middling B tier. Probably right around here is where you can expect to see it. The next one up is, let's see, ETC Band Manager. Now, we've already seen this card. This was the pre-release card that we got. 4 mana, 4/4. While building your deck, assemble a band of 3 cards. Battlecry, discover 1. Now, we've already seen this be pretty impactful to the meta currently. It could be added into a Renathal deck, or it could be added to a 30-card deck, and you just get 3 more cards that you want. It's really good for the tech cards, like the Viper or the Starfish, the Silence card, or just adding another way of removal, or adding a combo piece that you wouldn't need for like certain situations. You could tech in certain stuff against certain decks to help you have a better chance of winning. I think this card's really good, and it's definitely not going to be seen in every single deck, but it's definitely upper B tier. After seeing it, it's seen in quite a bit of decks, and when you play it, most of the time you feel pretty good seeing it, or when you see it in your hand, you feel pretty good about playing it and getting a card that you need or want. It also has a good stat line for 4. It feels pretty solid. The next one is Pausik Auto Engineer. 4 mana, 5/4 battlecry. Add 2 3/3 bots to your opponent's hand. Death rattle, summon them for yourself. The bots are vanilla, just 3/3s. This card's insane, especially if you drop it down on turn 4. Your opponent won't be able to play one of the bots, and most of the time they're going to be wanting to remove this, or they're going to be wanting to play something different. So most of the time you're always going to be getting 2 3/3 bots onto your side. And it's just like, I feel like this is going to be a solid card. Like, I think it's going to be definitely A tier. It's not S tier because it's not going to be seen in every single deck, but aggro decks are going to, run a lot with this. This can be put into the face aggro deck, or into the base hunter. It can be input into aggro druid, aggro warlock. Any of those types of decks that are very aggressive, the undead priest, the shadow priest, will more than definitely see this card in their deck, and they're going to enjoy letting your opponent kill this, and then getting those 3/3 bots into your side. You can see this in Mech Mage. You're getting those, because these are mechs, right? Yeah, these are mechs, and so then you'll be getting value off the mechs with the Mech Shark. When they summon back, it summons them for yourself. So if you have the Mech Shark already on the board, it's going to deal 3 damage randomly spread around. This card's going to be seen in quite a bit of decks, and it's going to feel really, really strong. The next one is, let's see, Tony, King of Piracy. 5 mana, 4/6. Both players' decks are swapped. Finale, draw a card. I don't really have a clue on this card at all. This is an aura effect from what I understand, so when you play it, you swap decks, and if you're able to, keep it on the board, you're drawing from your opponent's deck and they're drawing from you, and so that could really mess up, the game plan that they have made. But I don't think this is a very niche card. I don't think it's going to be meta defining. I definitely think that this will be seen in a couple decks just for fun, or a way to like disrupt possibly a combo that deck is trying to go for. But I don't think it's going to be too impactful on the game state unless it's very unexpected against your deck. But for now, that's definitely C tier. But it's definitely better than probably these cards here. Like, I feel like these are just a little bit worse than what this would do, especially with what it does. Swapping the decks and then drawing from your opponent's deck, if they're not able to remove it, is really, really good. Now the next one, the 1 Amalgam Ban. 7 mana, 6/6. Battlecry gain a random bonus effect for each minion type you've played this game. Now, bonus effect are the ones that are like Lifesteal, Charge, Wind Fury, Taunt, Divine Shield, Stealth, those ones, right? This is pretty easy to do because they've added in the Stake and the Amalgam and a bunch of other stuff like that. You could play a deck that has, 3 or 4 of them in there, and when you play this on turn 7, it's going to feel pretty good. I feel like this is a pretty average card. The only downside to it is that you're required to play multiple kinds of minions in your deck, but I'm sure you could probably work your way around it, and it would still feel pretty solid. I definitely think it's going to be a little bit more consistent than Fizzle. Let's see, we'll probably rearrange this. So yeah, I think this is probably about what the B tier would look like. I feel like this card would see some play in the more refined decks, and it would still feel pretty good to drop it down turn 7. So okay, so here's my my tier list. I think this is how we want it. Yeah, I feel like this looks pretty right. Yeah, although I feel like Jive Insect is going to be a bit more consistent here. Yeah, Jive Insect is going to be seen in like almost every... You know what, I'll put Jive Insect into A tier, because I think every Shaman deck is going to run this card no matter what. But it's not S tier because it's not going to make the game state broken at all, and it's not going to feel too overwhelming. It might, it might be low S tier. If you get this on turn 5 and you have an 8/8 that's able to just continuously delay damage to anything, it's going to feel really good. Yeah, I'll put it in S tier. I feel like this card's going to be good. It's going to be in every single Shaman class, and it's going to feel really good if you're able to get it on turn 5, or if you get it with Inza and you have it on turn 4, or you have a 4-cost one, it's going to feel good. So here's my final tier list for the Festival of Legends Hearthstone Legendaries. Please let me know what you think my tier list, and if you have any opinions or thoughts on it, let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching.